Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to your favorite time of the week. That's right, it's time for DBR on CBR. That is Dragon Ball Rewatch. And as long as you're watching along with us on Hulu and Crunchyroll and reading along with us in Viz Media, you get a cookie. So, once again, we are your hosts. My name is Alyx.
I'm Sam.
I'm John. Yeah, welcome to episode 18, The Turtle Hermit Way. Japanese viewers got this on June 25th, 1986. American viewers got it on September 12th, 2001 as part of a special double feature with the previous episode, as we talked about last time. Again, adapting a single chapter, one of our earliest runs of doing this. The chapter is called It Only Gets Harder, which... fitting. Basically, we're continuing on. Well, we directly are continuing on. This all happens in one day. Goku and Krillin are training under Roshi, and Roshi's training methods just keep getting more strange.
These episodes, sorry about that. I was reading the manga real quick. Man, it's awesome. Yeah. These episodes are almost tailor-made for like filler sequences because it's like, oh, just extend the training and maybe throw in some fun stuff just for you. And we kind of, okay, what is we can talk about them all, but to kick it off, what is your favorite training exercise that Roshi institutes this episode?
Ooh, I quite like the farming. The farm with your hands.
I love the construction guys. There's just something about them in their cute little like hard hats and getting everything built, and the Roshi being like, "You're gonna pay them a lot of money." Like that whole sequence, I think, is very fun.
I like that too. If I had to pick a second, it would be the naked swimming.
Oh,
yeah, we're back to tradition with a bit of
me. Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, okay, yes.
Look, okay. Full disclosure. I will watch these episodes on the subway on my way home, and every now and then I gotta pull that phone real close to my face, or the poor other person sitting next to me is gonna get an eyeful. And
that just means they think you're really enjoying it.
It's just like I would prefer them to like think I'm just being weird than to see the weird stuff on my phone.
The naked swimming is great because we get apparently sharks in this lake, which that's not where sharks live, so I presume Roshi put them there himself.
And was that Jaws music they were playing?
It was not the Jaws music. It was a piece of music that's very similar to the Jaws music, but two notes different.
Legally distinct.
Yes.
Legally distinct.
Original shark theme, do not steal. That we've already heard that as well. That was used in one of the Pilaf episodes, that exact same sting.
Oh.
Yeah, when there's a bit when Pilaf is lurking and they play it. So they got their money's worth out of it.
I feel like I noticed it more with the shark.
Probably because we were distracted by Pilaf at the time.
Sure.
And it's a more obvious reference with the shark.
Are there saltwater lakes, like inlets that, could support like mako sharks? I don't know. I'm not an ichthyologist.
Saltwater lakes do exist. They are not super common, but they do exist. Often it's because of teacher moment. Often it's because the natural saline that comes from the ground soil that's there and leaks in, you'll usually find them in more mountainous regions because salt dissolves in water, it runs down the sides of mountains and it gets into the lakes. So yeah, saltwater does exist. Freshwater sharks also do exist.
Yes. Only like a handful, but yes.
Only a handful, but yes.
I love that. Also, can we talk about like the issue of time? Because they were like, the tournament is what, 6 to 8 months away from the first day of training. Right after the tournament, Goku gets to get his 4-star Dragon Ball back. How much time did it take him to get to Roshi's house after the wish was made?
Yeah, they specifically say it was a tournament. The monk goes, the tournament is in 8 months. Pretty much looking at the audience, he says that. So yeah, there must have been a big gap. We know that, because we knew they flew off right after Great Ape because we see that happen. So yeah, that trip back to his house must have taken a while.
He might have hung out. Yeah.
Alternatively, how long did it take him and Krillin to find launch? Like how long were they on the road looking for launch?
Yeah. I mean, either way, that's about 4 months of unaccounted for time to mark the full year that the Dragon Balls reappear after the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. But well, I always thought that was weird because I always just assumed that they just trained at Roshi's for a full year to account for why the Dragon Balls would suddenly be back. Um, and the Dragon Radar would work again, but I guess, we
Maybe
don't
that's
know.
maybe that speedboat moving it took a couple of months.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, alternatively, like time is weird in the Dragon Ball universe sometimes. After all, Namek was blowing up for 5 minutes.
They might not be using a Gregorian calendar. We're not sure.
But
We don't know.
Vegeta does know it's Sunday when he lands, so technically, sorry.
So the Saiyans know
What?
about it. The Saiyans know about it. Okay, interesting.
The Saiyans
But
also have Sundays off, meaning they do know that Jesus is a thing. So that's opens up a lot of complications.
On Sundays, Saiyans don't really like kill anything. That's when they have like a meal.
yeah, Saiyan Shabbos. But the
Saiyan Shabbos.
uh so
Talking of time, one of my favorite random comments from this is the farming bit where they till all the land, and then Roshi says, "You'll be tilling more land every day." It's like,
Yeah.
no, you won't, because the farm is tilled. You're not going to go and if you go and retill it, it's going to destroy his crop. And
No,
there's
the
only
farmer's
so
gonna
much,
fill it all back in. He's
there's
gonna
only,
put it all.
there's only so much land on the island. So just sorry, your house in the way of Goku's training. He's going to come and till it.
Can we
Yeah,
talk
it's
about the
yeah.
farmer being Italian?
The farmer is Italian, and like all farmers.
I presume it's to avoid any uncomfortable voices that maybe have been used before and will be used again.
Yeah, I think it's also again a bit of the I've got to do a one-off character. Time to get some regional accents for the voice reel in.
Yeah. It's the speed they work. I assume they just certainly Alyx was talking about the construction yard sequence. I assume at the speed they're working, they just build a quarry. They just dig out a quarry because they've just
Yeah.
the speed they're going.
The thing I like about the construction sequence, just really quick, is we get that little flashback to Krillin being bullied by full-grown adults, one of which is definitely voiced by Justin Cook. I saw him, I heard him. Justin, you're my favorite voice actor. If you will never see this, but I need you to know that. But yeah, just like full-grown adults kicking the crap out of this like 12-year-old kid, and but why? But why?
That sequence I really like for several reasons. One, I think it's good we have it, not because I like seeing Krillin get bullied, even though he does look like a gremlin still. I think it helps to give Krillin his backstory now because he's been verging on that line of being a childish bully, but being a bit too harsh at points. He's felt a little too dickish at points with Goku. So this is gives him some context. But I like that one of the grown adults says, there's always the circus before he kicks him. And I now want to know what the circus in the Dragon World looks like. Because you've got people who can fly. The trapeze seems sort of like a step down. What is Dragon World Cirque du Soleil?
Oh, I would kill to see that. A Cirque du Soleil in the Dragon Ball universe or a Cirque du Soleil based on Dragon Ball. That's $1 million idea. Somebody, if you speak French, call Cirque du Soleil. They owe you money now.
I do speak French. But it also, I mean, it's a world full of anthropomorphic animals. So do they not have like tiger and lion rings? I don't know. These
The lion tames the humans in the Dragon Ball Circus.
yeah,
I would watch that. That would be hilarious.
Planet of the Apes, real Planet of the Apes situation.
Planet of the Cats.
Yeah, it's almost like Animal Crossing before Animal Crossing, the way that humans and animals kind of like interact and live in communities and fish and do all kinds of
It's
stuff.
really cute. I like the restaurant scene we get here as well, where we sort of see all these weird little characters. I quite like how it reminds me of the cantina from Star Wars and how that makes the world feel so much more deep just by having all of these random people wandering around. We never see them again. Doesn't matter. Just having them makes the world feel like, hey, it doesn't stop existing when the camera stops.
That sequence also has one of the best joke payoffs I think we've gotten so far. Because before that, they're having lunch, they're having breakfast, I think, with Launch, and then she sneezes and shoots them, obviously. Then they get to the restaurant and Goku sneezes, and Master Roshi and Krillin are like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
And that setup is so good. That is such a good beat for beat comedy bit.
It's
Really good.
the Pavlovian response that is already formed after like 3 days.
And they don't cut away from it either. They like let them be embarrassed in that moment, just standing in the corner, like,
Also, I like in that sequence, if you look, you see a guy who's dressed like Oolong.
yeah, just like Chairman Mao.
Is there a China in the Dragon Ball universe? We don't know. We don't know, man.
I did notice actually during that sequence, you do see that the human characters have definitely had an upgrade in their visuals. How they're being drawn slightly more realistically. Compare them to like when we saw the people in Master Carrot, the Master Carrot episode. We are seeing more realistic people now, which you'll see again as we reach the tournament. The background people become less sort of Looney Tunes and more realistic, which is interesting.
Alyx, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I was gonna say the background people reacting to Krillin and Goku eating. Like remembering also that Krillin used to be that big of an eater along with Goku, very fun. Because like Goku, you expect to be like piling up bowls of everything and really throwing off his gut microbiome with all of those carbs. but yeah, like Krillin's doing it too, and all of it is just these reaction shots from the rest of this better drawn crowd being like, it's very funny.
They do a lot of really good fish out of water in these 2 episodes. You get it a lot, and I really like setting them up that way.
I want to touch back from something we said several episodes ago. Like, how does Goku learn stuff? And it's like, well, and I think I mentioned this, he learned from Roshi because he has to train the mind as well as the body.
It's funny you bring that up because so they do the mind training bit where they have Goku learn to read by reading a book. That book has a bizarre line of canon in Dragon Ball. So here's some fun for you. So yeah, Dragon Ball Online said that Roshi teaches Goku to read during this training arc off screen. That bit we see is the start of it, but he doesn't know how to read before then. That book he's reading is called Bob and Margaret's Forbidden Adventures. It's very
porn.
It is. It's very clearly a romance novel, or a porn novel.
Yeah.
If you listen to what he says, it's like, oh, what are you doing there? What's funny is that book reappears several times in outside media. It's not a real book, Toriyama made it up. But the best part is it appears in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, where if you do one specific storyline, you find that Mr. Satan owns a copy. Boo finds it, reads it, and that makes Boo learn about love, want a wife, so he splits himself to create Miss Boo, and later they split again to create Baby Boo. In just one really weird...
I knew about the Majin race in Xenoverse, but I didn't know it was from that book specifically.
Yeah.
I love that because when Goku was reading that out loud, it very much had the energy of like, what are we doing on the ground, Oni-chan? And I'm really glad to know that.
I just love this with Dragon Ball. You get these what is literally just a one-off gag that was clearly included to just not show a learning sequence. Just like, oh, we'll cut away. Has developed a life of its own. Like you'll find that the Galactic Patrol apparently know what this book is as well for some reason. And
that's awesome. Like this book is not just a New York Times bestseller, it is a universal bestseller. I'm expecting to see Beerus with a copy of it just like flipping through like, yes, perfect. This is why I didn't blow up the planet.
With like Earth literature, very good. Also, not to be confused with the Canadian animated series of the same name, despite them being similar in time period. FYI.
50 Shades of Grey could never.
50 Shades of Dragon Ball.
To be fair, with the amount of merch they made of Dragon Ball, I'm very surprised they didn't get some ghostwriter to write the entire thing and put it on a bookshelf.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to write this book. This is my Everest.
Guaranteed to induce Miss Booze.
And create an entire new race.
That's all I want.
That's your goal as a writer. That's what you're aiming to do.
That's the whole reason I'm with CBR is to get me to that level where I can write a book that inspires a new race of people to exist.
That's why Game of Thrones is taking so long to end. He's trying, but he just can't do it. He can't make White Walkers real.
Yeah. Still waiting on Winds of Winter, George.
It's never gonna happen. Like, Yoshiro Togashi comes out every 10 years to put out 10 chapters of Hunter x Hunter, and then he goes back to being filled with anxiety. It's the same thing with George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, but at least Hunter x Hunter is more we get more.
But anyway.
Oh, talking of weird things as well, which you mentioned weird voices, the foreman at the building site is a producer on the show.
Which one is he?
I can't remember which one he is off the top of my head, but he is one of the staff on the show. That's why he sounds a bit off, because he's not a voice actor. He appears a couple of times in this new dub of Dragon Ball, playing just random B characters because, okay, hey, if you're the producer, why not give yourself a one-off?
Is it McAuliffe?
It might be McAuliffe. I'd have to check again, but
That's
I was going through the voice actor list trying to work out who the Italian farmer was. I was like, that name seems familiar. Oh, he's a producer.
If it's McAuliffe, who's been with Funimation and now Crunchyroll for a while, I've had dinner with that man in Tokyo.
Did he sound like that?
Maybe a bit. Yeah, I wasn't thinking to look for it, but yeah, now that you mention it.
Like this whole episode is just it's so funny. I really like watching like we talked about this in the last episode. I like watching Roshi interact with all these other characters because they clearly know him, but there's also just this fun energy around Roshi being like, "Look at my boys. You want see what my boys can do for you? All right, let's do it."
He is like a proud dad. It's really cute, and I'm turning around on Roshi so much because in these early episodes, he's a character. He's not just a innuendo dispensing vending machine. He feels like he cares for Goku. He cares for Krillin. He does know what he's talking about, even if what he's talking about is a little bit weird.
We're starting to see the methods of the madness. Like wasps are obviously to learn how to dodge. Like digging is, and he says as much as to build that hand speed. I just can't believe we're almost at the. I could have sworn the last times I've watched Dragon Ball or read Dragon Ball that they spend a bit more time training. But we are almost, I mean, look at the title of the next episode. Yeah. we're basically done.
You're right. I'm the same. I thought there was a lot more of this training stuff coming, but there isn't. This is pretty much the majority of it done. I'm not sure if I'm getting it confused with later arcs, maybe, where it became much more ubiquitous, or the games which really stretch this bit to high heaven.
Honestly, I think because, we're in the future, and we know what's going to happen. Like the training arcs as they go on throughout Dragon Ball, and especially in Dragon Ball Z, like when you get into the hyperbolic time chamber, like all that stuff becomes much, much longer, and a big chunk of the plot happens in the training. But here, I did also remember this being longer, but yeah, you're right. It is interesting how much shorter it is, but this is a very meat and potatoes part of the show. It's like, we're going to keep you going through the plot. We're going to keep all the fun stuff, but we're not going to make you sit through too much.
It's funny you mention that, because at the end of the episode, the narrator comes back in and says, the World Martial Arts Tournament is coming soon. But it's said in such a way that makes it not feel like he's summing up what's happened, as much as he's directly telling the audience, hey, this training isn't going to happen much longer. The tournament is like next week. It's starting soon. It feels very much like you're signaling to the viewer about what's happening rather than narrating the story.
Yeah.
I love the narrator.
The narrator's great. But yeah, I mean, I think part of the thing that skews that perception, Piccolo and Gohan train for a while.
Yeah.
Goku trains for a bit on King Kai's planet, even longer to get to King Kai's planet.
Anytime Goku is running, it's filler.
Yeah. The training under Kami and Popo at the end of Dragon Ball, that runs for a minute. They're just like, this is your routine. Cool. Now that you know what their routine is, let's go see them fight. Which works. I love it.
And again, I love we're seeing the other fighters here added in, which is again added for the anime. But it's, again, I love the cast of weirdos they've made. Like the guy who's training with 16 of his clones, the weird mountain man who's chopping down trees, and then the Rocky parody.
Yeah.
The Rocky parody is great. Like,
the Rocky parody is amazing.
We also get the tenets of turtle school training here. Eat well, learn well, sleep well, work. Like, these are the basis of the turtle school, and I love that. Like, it's such a thing that you only hear about it every so often, but it matters so much to Goku and Krillin specifically.
I do like as well, which we sort of talked about in the last arc, sort of Goku as a child of the earth and a sort of a working class hero. The turtle school, especially when you compare it to, like, you see the big dojo the other guys are training at, and like the Rocky guy having his actual gym, having Goku training with Roshi in sort of what is a very simple rural, we do our farm work, we help people work, then we eat, we sleep. it's really pushed him as this working class hero who is going up against unimaginable odds, people who have more money and power than he has. And I really like that as a narrative. It does play back into sort of Journey of the West, where the Monkey King is kind of this low-class wanderer who isn't really part of anything. I like they've kept that for Goku, and it does kind of vanish when Z happens. It kind of has to. You can't keep someone as sort of the underdog hero for too long because they start winning. But I like here it makes him feel like such a easy to root for character.
I mean, I would argue that in Z that continues up until Super Saiyan. Like when he's fighting Frieza, Goku is the underdog. Oh, not Frieza. When he's fighting Frieza in the beginning, he's the underdog. When he's fighting Vegeta, he's the underdog because Vegeta won that fight. Controversial take. Vegeta won that fight. Like that he would be dead if not for Yajirobe.
He is the underdog, but he feels like less like sort of the commoner fighting he feel because he's now an alien and he's now got this big history. He doesn't feel like this street kid punching above his weight anymore. He feels like someone who's being outclassed.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, in terms of the last time we were talking about favorite tournaments, like what is your favorite kind of training sequence? Because I mean, look at what's happening at Demon Slayer right now. It's all training, right? It's the Hishira training arc. What are some of your favorite training moments in anime?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Yes. It's one of those things that you immediately, like, you try and think about it, you pull a blank, then the second I finish talking, like 80 are going to pop into my head.
Yeah, like my hero is almost all training. Whenever they're at the UA, they're training.
I gotta say, my favorite one is still in Dragon Ball, and it's Piccolo and Gohan. Like Piccolo and Gohan's little training arc is so good because of what it means for Piccolo's character. Like they do the training and you get that scene where Piccolo like reaches out to kind of brush the hair out of Gohan's face and he pulls his hand back, and like that those little moments in that arc are so good because he's not just training Gohan to be a warrior, he's training himself to be a person. And that's so cool to me. Like I think that the stuff with Piccolo and Gohan, some of the best writing in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Like I think it's some of the best stuff. But yeah, like that little moment raises that for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sort of agree with you because I think that whole scene, it touched on those moments. We'll get to them later. Touch on so many different emotions. There's like an element of tragedy to the whole thing, of sort of the how did we get here, which again plays to that Buddhist idea of like he has to pick up a sword. He should not have to pick up a sword, but this is where we are, and we should be upset that we've had to do this. And yeah, Piccolo is becoming more human, and you can tell he has mixed feelings about the whole thing. It definitely is one of the things I like, is a training arc that kind of hammers home that when you're training a kid, you shouldn't be training a kid. They should not be becoming a warrior. That's a failure. It's unfortunate, but it happens. I think that part of Dragon Ball is the only part that really captures that so viscerally for me.
That happens in Z, but at this stage in Dragon Ball, even though Goku and Krillin are training, you know, it's a completely different context that really signals what Z is about. The heightened intensity, that every time we're doing this, the world or the universe is at stake. By Super, it's the multiverse. With Dragon Ball, it's like just get better until about halfway through, and then like actual demon men with antennae are going to show up, and then we're going to have to do something about that.
By the way, demons exist. By the way, kid, hell is real. You should probably start considering that.
I think it's interesting to talk about like just about the training arcs too, because like you're right, in Dragon Ball, it feels like the training arcs aren't so much about the world is going to end, we are all going to die, you have to do this. It starts out as Goku just wants to learn martial arts because it seems like it's going to be cool and he wants to get stronger. Like there's something really interesting in that, because if you take it against modern shonen anime, a lot of times it's about child soldiers. Like Naruto is about child soldiers. My Hero Academia is about child cops. Like that's like if you break it down into like base parts, Demon Slayer is about child soldiers, like throwing enough young people into the meat grinder to hopefully overcome the issue. Like, and Dragon Ball does not start that way, which I think is really good momentum wise.
I think you can make a very solid argument that this arc, probably up for the next couple of episodes, is technically a sports anime with how it handles training and how it handles the tournament. because we are seeing like tournaments are an official thing. This is no different from sort of a soccer anime where we're going to the World Cup. The tournament that if you lose a tournament, yeah, you're going to get banged up, but people try and they fail.
It's a little more kinetic or a little more exaggerated Hajime no Ippo.
That's what I was trying to place. Yes.
Oh, I love Hajime no Ippo. It's so good. Read Hajime no Ippo if you haven't read it, audience. Read it. It's so good.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah. It's that's a boxing anime for the uninitiated, and it's great. It's some of the best fights in manga and anime form.
But here we are to talk about Dragon Ball. This is not the Hajime no Ippo podcast yet.
Hajime no podcast.
Yes.
We'll get to that when we get to the end of Daima. So if I'll see you in 12 years.
That's going to be the end of Daima. But the other really fun stuff here with the training arc I do want to point out is this is where I feel like Goku and Krillin are starting to really become friends. Like there's a camaraderie that's actually starting to form throughout all of this because both of them are tired. Both of them are like getting through this together. And I'm really excited about that. Like Goku and Krillin's friendship is so fundamental to the characters going forward that seeing it build it's so cute. It's very fun.
I like you sort of see it perfectly with the shark sequence where even how the animation conveys it, there's definitely a switch from I've got to be the best and I've got to get away myself to we've both got to get away. So they're not like trying to pull the other one back to use them as bait, which you think Krillin a couple of episodes was threatening to murder Goku to get the rock. That moment kind of signifies that they have softened to each other quite a lot. And yeah, it's really nice. I like how they feel like they're both kids, which is rare to do. Goku, despite his weirdness, does act like you would expect a child to act.
Yeah, they're just little boys. And I really like that. I have a soft spot for when anime does kids really well because so much of shonen anime is about taking 15-year-olds and making them act like 20-year-olds. But I like this. It's oddly refreshing watching Dragon Ball in the modern era.
Any final thoughts on this episode before we call it and head off to the tournament?
This was really fun. This feels like it could be filler in another series, but they did a really good job making an emotional and exciting experience.
Yeah, I'm keeping to my earlier statement. Dragon Ball, like in the modern anime climate, does feel like a breath of fresh air. Like I love a lot of modern anime, don't get me wrong, but like getting to rewatch Dragon Ball again week to week feels refreshing and fun, and like not everything has. I feel like in a way we're in a kind of a dark age of comics kind of energy in anime in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of like grim dark and Rob Liefeld can't draw feet, like that kind of energy. And I like that. I like that we're here in a place where Goku and Krillin get to be kids and learn how to punch real good.
And we love it too. And this has been another installment of DBR and CBR, Dragon Ball Rewatch. You can watch along on Crunchyroll and Hulu, or if you're looking to read the manga like me and get lost in the text, you can get the official English translation through Viz Media. I'm Sam.
I'm Alyx.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next time on Dragon Ball.